Greetings, brothers and sisters. Hello and welcome back to Eva's House of Spirit. I'm Eva and I am back at last to finish up the 77 Question Witchy Community Tag. I had to kind of take a hiatus for a while because a lot was going on, but I wanted to come back and wrap up questions 61 through 77. So forgive me for having taken so long to do this, but I am here. And with that said, again, I have my notes on the screen in front of me so that I stay on topic, and hopefully I won't drag this out longer than I want to. I hope you find this enjoyable. And with that said, let's begin. Question 61. Do you believe in ghosts and spirits? Most definitely. I've had many experiences that confirm my belief in them. Question 62. What, if any, legal herb do you use for your moods? Honestly, of the herbs that are legal where I live, I don't really use any for mood management, but there's one I'd certainly like to use if using it were to become legal in my state. Question 63. What is the most recent spell or ritual that you have done? Slight detail, please. The last spell I did was one to help a friend to find a nice new home. I used an orange scented candle with a specialized blend of herbs and a petition under it, and I was especially mindful of the timing by which I worked. Needless to say, the spell was a success. She did find a nice new place to live, and everything worked nice. Everything worked smoothly, so that went well. Question 64. Would you ever teach the craft? I think I already sort of do, to the ability that I am able. By sharing what I have learned on my spiritual and magical journey, I think I teach some people a few new things, and those same people in turn teach me when we share our experiences and understandings with each other. Question 65. Do you have a happy place you go to during meditation? No, I don't have a particular happy place that I go to when I meditate. Question 66. What is your favorite witchy book? It's really hard to choose a favorite because there are so many. But 3 books that I absolutely love are The Once and Future King by T.H. White, Celestially Auspicious Occasions, Seasons, Cycles, and Celebrations by Donna Hennes, and The Mythic Journey, The Meaning of Myth as a Guide for Life by Liz Green and Juliet Sharman Burke. Those 3 books I have found are some awesome, awesome, awesome books. Question 67. Do you have a ritual to get ready for a ritual or spell? There are certain things I do before workings of various sorts, depending on what I'm going to do. But I'd rather not speak too much on those. I'd rather kind of keep that personal. Those are extremely, they're sort of really personal to me. And I'm generally very open, but there are a few select things that I reserve for myself alone. I hope you can understand and respect that. But yes, there are certain things that I will do for particular, to prepare for particular workings or particular magical or spiritual things that I do. Question 68. Do you always use your own spells or do you tweak the spells of others? I do a little bit of both, depending on, what's going on. It depends what my particular needs are at the time. But yeah, I think equally I would do a little bit of both. Generally speaking, I enjoy writing my own a little more. But sometimes I'll look at, I'll be looking at different spells, let's say in that 5,000 spells encyclopedia, because I do own that. Sometimes I'll just kind of look at, spells for particular things, and I'll be, oh, I like this one, but then I'll be like, but I want to change this and this and this and that, or I'll be like, well, I don't have this ingredient, or, and I'll just kind of tweak it around so that it works for me or so that it resonates with me. So yeah, I do a little bit of both. Question 69. Do you prefer spells or rituals? Inside or outside? I prefer spells, and I tend to do them inside. It's not a preference that drives me to do them indoors. I just happen to work indoors more often than not. But I will say there is one thing also that is kind of, that leans that in my favor to work indoors. I don't like, not that my neighbors are going to give me problems exactly, but I don't like the fact that when you don't live in a place that is very, either that is very secluded, or if you live in a place where your neighbors are not, kind of on the same page as you with this sort of thing, I think there comes a self-consciousness about working outdoors sometimes. You feel kind of like, oh, I have to kind of keep it, under wraps a bit, so I'm going to limit my maybe gesturing, or I'm going to limit the things that I speak out loud, or my voice level when I speak certain things out loud, things like that. I kind of don't like that. I like to be able to just do what I need to do without thought of someone may see me or think something crazy or whatever. So that's part of what leans me toward working indoors. But other than, that's one aspect that kind of leans me that way a little bit, but I guess I'm just comfortable indoors overall, so I tend to work indoors, and I tend to do spell work. I'm not really someone who's wrapped up in a whole lot of ceremonial or ritual type of workings. I like things to flow a little more freely, to be less scripted, Question 70. If you are coming from a Christian or Catholic background, did you find the transition into paganism hard? Well, I was raised by Catholic parents, but I was not raised in the church at all. Still, I did not find the transition to paganism or magic to be very hard at all. Granted, my parents were a little, concerned at first, because if you know anything about old world Portuguese people, people that kind of grew up in that older generation, they tend to be a little bit guarded against witchcraft, because their experience with it tends to not be the positive kind of experience. You know what I'm saying? The stories that they tend to have been exposed to, or the experiences they tend to have been exposed to most, were instances in which someone was doing malevolent work, as opposed to, at least in my family anyway, that I know of, or also, actually, I've known friends whose parents were Portuguese and who grew up in the old world, and they as well, the stories that they would tend to talk about and the experience that they tended to have, more centered around the experience of, having someone do negative work on someone else, so they tend to, older school people tend to be a little bit guarded about it, so that, they had to kind of, I had to do a lot of explaining, and, they had to kind of come to see that it wasn't the same sort of witchcraft that they were raised around or understood to some degree from their upbringing. They kind of needed to have a little bit of an eye-opening experience, and I think, for them, having a daughter that gravitated this way, it was enlightening, I think, for them. But they came around, so it wasn't that hard. It was a little bit, of a process, but it wasn't extremely difficult. So there's that. Where was I? Okay. Question 71. What are your totem animals? I don't often speak on this because, to be honest, I don't do as much work with my with my totem animal, my lifelong totem animal, or with totem animals in general, as I probably should. I tend to connect with animals more when they bring synchronistic signs. But with that said, I will say that as far as I can tell at this time, from my past experiences leading up till now, the goose is my lifelong totem. I have recently come to the conclusion also that spider might be my shadow totem, as it is an insect that comes to me quite often, and while it is an insect that I fear, I still have a lot of respect for it, and I feel that it potentially has much to teach me about things that I fear and things that I need to come to grips with. I also feel drawn to and have various kinds of connections with other animals, such as owl, dog, cat, or crow, for example. There are others as well. Um, and finally, there have been times in my life that animals have appeared to me to convey lessons or messages that I needed to be aware of at those specific times. This is a continuing thing for me. What was it? Just Friday night leading into Saturday. Um, I had a very small frog that came forward. And needless to say, I will be exploring what Frog's message is. This thing was so tiny. He was like the size of like a thumbnail. He was so tiny. And it's not a common thing to see frogs in my area. You can occasionally, but it's not like they're all over the place, really common. So I will be looking into that, checking out what Frog kind of had to bring forward, as a message for me. Okay, let me just scroll down on my list of questions to the bottom. Wait, I think I scrolled too far. Excuse me, folks. Okay. So, question 72. What are some things you reuse after spells or rituals? I often reuse the same petition papers if I'm working in like a long-term candle spell or something like that. If I'm working long-term for the same thing, I will use the same petitions again and again and again and again. Other than that, it kind of depends on the specifics of the spell, but usually I don't reuse things very much. It's a situational specific thing. You know what I mean? But I'd have to say more often than not, it's the petition papers that I will reuse and reuse and reuse and reuse. Okay. Question 73. Who helped you most when you started on your path? There was someone in my family who helped me quite a bit, but I don't talk to that person anymore for unrelated reasons. Question 74. Do you know any good witchy apps, like moon phases? I have a few witchy apps on my tablet. I do have the moon phases, but I also have the Wheel of Rame, and Rame is spelled R-A-M-E, which is a fortune-telling app that mainly uses runes and tarot to tell one's fortune. If you know about like the Kabbalah and Hebrew letters and what they mean and stuff like that, it includes Hebrew letters in there, but I'm not very well schooled in that, so they don't really give you like an explanation of the Hebrew letters, but they will appear on the screen along with your tarot card and your rune or whatever. So if you know about the Hebrew lettering and what that kind of means, you can kind of incorporate that into your interpretation of what comes up for you with the Wheel of Rame. What else do I have? Another app I have is called Magic Formulas. It's an app that helps you to create your own combinations of runes for magical purposes. You can use the formulas and spell workings to help you manifest what you're looking for. And yet another app I have on my tablet is Debbie A. Anderson's Vibrational Energy Oracle Cards. You can use this app to do a reading for yourself. And then, after your reading, you can even save the reading to your in-app journal for later referral. If you forgot what it said, there's like a little journal button that like once your cards are read, you can like save it to your little journal. You can enter in the date or whatever, what it was about and the date, let's say. And let's say time goes by and you're looking back in hindsight, or let's say a little time goes by and you're still in that situation and you're like, oh, what did that card say again? You can refer back and see what it told you. And of course, I will say I have the free versions of these. They work just fine for me. But if you were to purchase like the full versions, it doesn't cost that much to purchase the full versions, but you get more, more things available to you if you purchase the full versions of the apps. So yeah, those are the apps that I have on my tablet. Question 75. What is your favorite magical study? It's hard to choose just one particular area of magical study to be my favorite. I love learning about divinatory processes in particular, but overall I try to be an informational sponge. I'm pretty open-minded. I absolutely love the process of informational exchange within our community. I like to share what I know, and I love hearing from others as well. I believe this kind of simultaneous teaching and learning benefits us all. Such mutual, my God, I can't speak. Such mutual exchange without judgment, so long as all involved know how to agree to disagree when they don't see eye to eye, is something I feel is so important that I based my own YouTube channel and Facebook group around it. The more open we are and the more open-minded we are, the more we can all grow together. That's my personal belief. So yeah, I just love to learn all that I can about as much as I can while sharing what I know as a way of giving back in the process. Question 76. Outside of YouTube and Facebook, do you have a lot of witchy friends? Unfortunately not. I don't have a lot of witchy friends outside of YouTube and Facebook. I do have some people that are, open-minded about this sort of thing, that I can talk to them about stuff, but they're not like witches per se. I have friends or people that are acquaintances or whatever, some people at work, also, obviously my husband, but he's my husband, so he's more of my husband than my friend, but he is my friend as well. And there are a few of our friends, in our circle of shared friends between my husband and I. Like, there's certain people that I know are very open-minded, that we've had just conversations about experiences and stuff like that. We've just kind of talked. But really, I don't know if I'd consider them witchy friends. I consider them more open-minded friends. But, I mean, I think that's okay. That's fine. That's enough, It would be nice. I would so love to have some witchy friends where I live, but it is what it is, I do have a friend in California who goes by the name of Barbie B. I love her very dearly. We have a friendship off of Facebook and YouTube, but because she lives so far away, our interactions are kind of limited to things like, Skype, Vox, or Facebook, stuff like that. But we just try to stay connected however we can, So I have to say my witchy circle of friends outside of YouTube and Facebook is kind of small, but it's still there. I do have some little, witchy camaraderie or spiritual or open-minded camaraderie. There is a support, there. So I'm happy. And finally, the last question to this tag. Do you feel that the deities we work with are a force from a higher power and that all beliefs and religions are from one God or place? I've spoken a little bit about this in some other videos on my channel. I believe that all deities are a part of a greater whole that I like to refer to as the Great All. They are unique and they are deities in their own rights, but they are all connected to one another like the many intricate facets on a beautifully cut diamond. There is one diamond, but that one diamond has many facets. As for religions and or beliefs, these are man-made and they came to us or come to us in different ways and for different reasons. They are our own ways of believing in or revering the Great All in whatever way we as individuals see and interpret the Great All. We will revere the Great All in ways that are based upon our own perceptions of its facets. That means we can focus on lighter or darker aspects, or we can focus on particular facets or aspects more so or as opposed to others. It also means that because of, due to our interpretations of how we perceive certain aspects of the Great All and how we believe that we should revere it for our own empirical reasons, some may practice their religion or beliefs, in a way that comes off as a little twisted, and then some it may be a little, not so twisted. It depends. And that's another thing too. That depends on who you're asking, because when it comes to things like morals, it's really honestly subjective. What's moral to you might not be moral to me, and vice versa. But my point is, I believe that religions and beliefs, as I've said before, there are our own ways of believing in and revering the Great All, based upon how we see and interpret the Great All, and based on, what we believe the great all would, I guess, approve of, or deem like correct or whatever, or like what resonates with us and so on and so forth. I hope that makes sense. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So that concludes the 77 Witchy Question Tag, Community Question Tag. Oh my god, the 77 Witchy Question Community Tag. That's pretty much my take on it. Sorry I took so long to complete the tag, but I did want to come back and just kind of wrap that up, because I know that some of you may have been wondering about those final questions, 61 through 77. But anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, anything you want to share regarding this last part of the tag, please do hit me up in the comments. And I wish you a great day. Blessed be and Ashe. And until our next exchange, bye-bye for now.